Yeah, hey, Serena, hey, everybody. I suppose good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Um, I am here. Well, actually, first I wanted to thank our presenters, our program committee, our organizers for some great presentations, some great content. I always learn a lot at these sessions, and I really enjoy them. I am. I'm with the Eclipse Foundation and program manager for 2 working groups. All right, can you see that okay?
We can, yes.
Very good, thank you. Cloud development tools and Open VSX, and here my focus is mostly on Open VSX. Talk about what's going on there, what's sort of where things are, some trends, and sort of what you can expect. Bit of an introduction. OpenVSX.org is the only open, transparent, vendor-neutral registry for hosting VS Code extensions. And the OpenVSX working group and its members, through their membership dues, help ensure the sustainability, integrity, evolution, and adoption of the registry. It provides the governance, the funding, and the community support that keeps this deployment up and running and viable, something that we all depend on. First, a shout out to our working group members. These 6 organizations here, through their membership dues, then with help from the committers and with help from the Eclipse Foundation IT team, give us the deployment and run the site and keep it operational. Just sort of setting a little bit where we are with industry trends and opportunities. And this comes from, if I remember correctly, I can't remember the survey. I think I've got the survey in my speaker's notes. I'll make it available. Anyway, through a recent survey, VS Code is used roughly by 75% of developers. The core open source, if you look at the GitHub repo, has been forked about 30,000 times. And these extensions are emerging as a default extension mechanism. But there are limitations with the Visual Studio Marketplace, specifically what you can do with it in terms of deployment and per the terms and conditions where those extensions can be downloaded and installed into. And so what this leaves is a need for an open, transparent, and vendor-neutral registry of extensions, and that's what we're providing with Open VSX. So specifically, what we're looking, some of the main use cases that we look to enable is making these extensions available to any desktop or cloud IDE. The terms of use at OpenVSX permit this. The terms of use at the Visual Studio Marketplace do not. We also enable an organization to host its own instance of the registry. It can be tethered to sort of the main registry, or it can be untethered. And we also support air-gap configurations for organizations that may have security or regulatory requirements that don't permit that direct connection to the internet. This enables an organization to curate a set of extensions for developers and partners, whether intellectual property concerns or security concerns or sort of other internal policy concerns. And you can also host, if you with the deployed instance, you can also host a set of proprietary extensions for your developers or partners. In other words, you could host an instance, you could tether it to openvsx.org, you could sync with everything there, and then you could add proprietary extensions and make those available to your engineers and your partners. So just some statistics. We have over 4,100 hosted, and these statistics are about 4 or 5 days old. Over 4,100 extensions, that's up 31% year to year. 2,200 publishers, up 37% year to year. About 140K downloads a day. Now folks have asked before if we can distinguish between updates and new installs, and unfortunately we can't. We don't have a reliable way to do that. But that figure is up. You can see 130% year over year, and we're seeing about 100, it's between 100 and 120 publications a day, and this may be new extensions, or this may be updates to existing extensions. I don't have a year-over-year figure on this. We get this by processing logs, and we don't keep the logs roll, I think, after 3 or 4 months. And another important point is we at openvsx.org, we host all of the, I think it may be slightly more than 100 now, but at least all of the top 100 extensions that are available on the Visual Studio Marketplace that are available under an open source license that we are permitted to redistribute. So what's new? This is work that's happened roughly over the past year. And this is work that is brought to us contributions from the committers. And one of the committers is actually funded by the membership dues of the OpenVSX working group. And this is one of the, in general, Eclipse doesn't like to do this, doesn't like to employ committers on projects, and there are 2 exceptions to that. The original Eclipse ID is one, and this property is the other, where it's a unique requirement in getting the work to actually run a physical deployment. And so the membership dues fund one committer, and that committer and the existing committers that are still working on the project from Typefox, Gitpod, and maybe Eclipse Source. That's where this work is coming from. So most recently, and you may have seen an announcement, we have added support for deprecating extensions. You can see this because in the UI on that main page, an extension will be grayed out as opposed to color. And a publisher requests that an extension gets deprecated, and you can mark it as not downloadable or downloadable, and then you could point to replacement. Related to that, and I think I mentioned this a little bit further down, we have also, I spent quite a bit of time in working with some others in updating the wiki to better include instructions for, for deprecating extensions, for marking an extension as malicious, for requesting namespace access and publishing, and some of the things that go on around publishing. So you should see a bit more information there, including instructions for if you want to deprecate an extension. We've implemented SonarQube for source code scanning, implemented a Grafana dashboard for better operational visibility. We're continuing to, we've implemented a smoke test that we run with every deployment, automated, and we're continuing to build that out. We've improved our Postgres database deployment. The operational environment is more robust than it had been previously. And this was a new one for me. There's apparently through zip file metadata, you can actually provide instructions for files to land in other places. So it's conceivable that one could, with a zip file, and that's essentially what the VSIX extension files are, could include metadata to overlay other extensions. And so we've added a check for that, so to sort of keep extensions and their data within, where they need to reside, and not to overlay other files. We've identified and fixed some technical debt. This resulted in an extended outage in August. I'll talk about that in a moment. Cleaned up and added to the wiki. I mentioned that. We've also recently documented a compatibility interface. If you go to our wiki, and there'll be a point there to a Swagger API, and that is the official API of the OpenVSX project in our deployment, and for querying extensions, for publishing, and for getting metadata. But that is not the same interface that the Visual Studio Marketplace uses and VS Code and VS Code derived editors use. So the project also implements that interface. But that had never been documented, and we recently spent some effort to annotate that file, generate Swagger, and so now we have a pointer to a Swagger doc that documents that interface that we implement, that allows us to interoperate with VS Code-based editors and editors talking that interface. We can, and probably where most of the work is happening now is working to improve the efficiency of our database requests. And the other decent chunk of work that we have going on is we're looking to be more efficient with our database use. Like currently, one of our tables is a table of pointers to every file of every version of every extension that is published. You can imagine that some of these, when people wad up a big chunk of JavaScript or TypeScript or a bunch of other files, this is far and away our largest table, and really makes doing work on the database, migrating it, doing maintenance cumbersome. So we're working on an approach to greatly reduce the size of that table to just make us a little bit more nimble. And basically it's going to involve sort of in real time pulling some files down, making them available in a cache for some limited period of time, and then they go away so we don't need this table of pointers. When we get ready to deploy that, we'll work with the community to get some additional testing on that, because that'll be a fairly substantial change. Let's see, is there anything else? No. Okay. So what's in the queue? I mentioned the automated smoke test. We're continuing to improve that. We're working on the efficiency of our database requests. We have a PR that's come in from our colleagues at Red Hat to, in a similar way, you might have seen there's a one-button click to create a development environment for Open VSX and get a running deployment in Gitpod. Our team at Red Hat has a PR to create a development environment for Open VSX in their dev spaces in OpenShift. So we're working through that with them now. We're also thinking about a sponsorship program. When we were forming the working group about 18 months ago, there were some organizations that were interested in contributing, but not at the level of required for membership in the working group. So we're thinking about what a sponsorship program would look like, where people could contribute less, but still want to contribute to the operation and the viability of the site, which frankly a lot of people have a business dependency on, and we're hoping to use that to bring more revenue in to fund the development and maintenance of the site. And the other request that we've had on a couple of different fronts is to make available extension download information. Currently, we track some of it, but it's only available as an admin request. We're looking at what we can do to make more of that information available. So a couple of graphs here real quick. This is reliability of the previous 30 days, rolling 30-day average. And you notice that it actually happened in August. There was a bit of technical debt that had existed from the original implementation, that just a confluence of factors that probably involved a full moon caused it to fail. And it took us a little, the IT team was working hard around the clock on this. It took us a while to figure it out, but we finally did. And it had to do with a confluence of an elastic operator and upgrade with multiple pods and not different names, and there may have been a couple other factors in there. So that led to an extended outage. You can see we dropped down to about 98% availability. But other than that one period, over the past more than a year, we've been operating the site at least 99.9% availability. So now a couple of trends here. You see in the blue is the growth of extensions, and then the orange is the growth of publishers. This is from when the original, the data we have going back to November of 2021. Here's just sort of the download, a slight upward, not linear, slightly greater than linear downloads per month. I get questions, what are the most downloaded extensions? Here you can see, starting back November of 2022, you can see the most downloaded extensions. Most of them are sort of Python related. You've got the GitHub one, you've got We've got, where's it, Dirk's, ES Linter, but these have remained relatively consistent. And yeah, so that's it. For those of you that have been part of our community and have contributed to it, thank you. Those of you that have a dependency on it, I'd ask you to consider becoming a member of the working group, a sponsor, or at least a contributor. There's lots of good ideas out there, and we're welcome to them. There's my email address. There's also the QR code there to express interest in membership. Serena?
Thank you so much, John. So we do have a comment from Constantine saying, thank you for the speech. Open VSX is indeed the cornerstone of Theia's ecosystem, and it is very interesting to listen to the product state and insight. So thank you for that.